Seaside City and around the world. Welcome to another episode of Chicago's Intellectuals Podcast. And today, who do we have? Miss Kenyetta Peoples, Detroit's own. What's happening, ma'am?
What's going on? What up, though? That's all we said in Detroit. What up, though?
What up, though? Right. Kenyetta, let's jump right into it.
Okay.
Tell the world a little bit about your background, where you were raised, what side of Detroit you were raised on, things of that nature.
Yeah. So I was brought up in the west side of Detroit, over in the Joy Road and West Chicago area. Lived there pretty much the majority of my life, other than going off to college and trying to better myself so I can come back to my neighborhood and do some things to make sure that we're revitalizing our area. Come from a huge family. I have 5 sisters, 3 brothers, and 2 beautiful daughters. And I'm blessed to have both of my parents still here. In fact, they yesterday had experienced their 50th anniversary. So it's just blessed to be able to have them still in my life.
Congratulations on that. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Black love, baby. So talk a little bit your academic journey starting from grammar school.
Okay. Yeah. So again, grew up in the Cody Rouge neighborhood. The elementary school I went to was called Coolidge Elementary School. Left there and went to Brooks Middle School, and then from there to Cody High School is where I graduated. So during my education career, I did a lot of great things in the neighborhood. One of the things that I'm very proud of is that I was a student athlete. So during my high school year, I played basketball, softball, volleyball, and only ran tracks when they needed me. So when we came back from my softball games, I was able to pop off the 4x100. So I really enjoyed high school. I think I enjoyed high school better than college. Yeah. So so sports is really what made me. I say sports made me.
Man, I didn't even know that.
So because I wasn't really trained as a track star, basketball and softball and volleyball was my main thing. So out of all the sports, I played shortstop. So I think playing shortstop, I'm a shortstop. Okay. Yeah, I think playing shortstop, that's why I'm catching everything that come my way. Now you got to always be ready.
y'all got our shortstop. I was so mad when the Cubs did that. Y'all got our position now. I think he's still in Detroit. Javi Baez, isn't he still in Detroit?
I'm not sure. If he's still here, but yeah.
I didn't like that. But anyway, and so where did you end up going to college?
So undergrad, I went to Eastern Michigan University, and I initially started off in social work, but I changed my major. But I'm still back in social work, but I changed my major to criminal justice, just trying to change. And I felt like it was I don't know, I want to say this, but it was an easier way out, but it wasn't really what I needed to do. So the Lord brought me back to social work. And I think that's kind of where I probably should have stayed as far as undergrad. Went to University of Phoenix and got my master's in organization development. I was always interested in business. So that's why I wanted to make sure that I, continue my career and went to University of Phoenix.
Wow, Kenyetta. And where'd you get your values?
I would say my values really come from my family. Like I mentioned, I have a really strong family, very, very close-knitted family. And one of the things that I always learned as a young girl is having effective communication, being able to communicate effectively, and then also having authentic relationships. A lot of times, we, even like in our personal lives or business lives, unfortunately, a lot of relationships aren't authentic. And I think making sure that that's something as a young girl, I was like the middle child. So I really was responsible for trying to kind of keep the family going. That middle child is always the one to kind of make sure when there's like, things happening within the family, how do we, take a look at what we believe in, which is love, and then just making sure that we get through things. So I would say through, I got through my family. And then as far as like team building, I think that comes from family, having a large family as well, because at the end of the day, we all are go-getters, but it takes an entire team for all of us to be effective.
So who was it in particular that instilled effective communication in you as a young person? Who was it in your family that did that?
Yeah, so between both of my parents, I would say almost equally, but I
Mm,
would say my dad, I feel like my dad has always been the person who very wise, like he's a very wise man.
mhm.
And anytime, like a lot of times people say when they, when they're talking to their parents, they're going back and forth. But I remember anytime my daddy talked, I just listened.
Mm.
I didn't have a lot to say. I'll listen. It wasn't like a back and forth, a lot of back and forth conversation. Is because I was learning from him, and I think by listening, I took that into my adulthood, and I feel that I am a effective communicator.
So is it safe to say that you were impressed with your dad as a young girl?
Very, very impressed. I remember days us, sitting there watching 60 Minutes. I had no idea what that meant at the time, but as I grew older, I realized, looking at, educational things at that time was something that kind of helped me in the long run. And then my mother, my mom is I'm a PK, by the way. My mom is a preacher. So I think instilling my religious background that came from my mom, really making sure that we were in church every Sunday. We understood the importance of prayer, the importance of letting God lead the way and not trying to move before him. Of course, as we get older, sometimes we try to put things in our own hands, and we realize, okay, we got to go back to the basics, and I feel like my mom has been that person who's instilled that in me. So it's pretty balanced life having both parents and still being able to talk to them today, about things that I go through. It's definitely a blessing, and I don't take that for granted at all.
This is so good, Kenyetta. I'm learning so much about you that I didn't know because I've known you for a long time, but a few of these things I actually did not know. Uh, were there any other early influences that you can say helped you along your trajectory? Because you're doing really well right now. We're gonna get into
Thank
that
you,
in a
thank
minute.
you. Yeah, yeah.
Were there any other influences that you had in your life?
Yeah, I would say in middle school, I had a counselor. Her name is Mrs. Mitchell, and she is still with us. So, it's she was the first person that really showed me how to be a businesswoman.
Mm.
I was her at that time. I think they called them like teacher's aide or whatever back then. So I was always in her office, and she was always showing me how to do things, and I think I learned how to be a businesswoman from her. And her name is Miss Alice Mitchell. Yeah, so
Are
she's a
you still
blessing.
in contact with her?
We are friends on Facebook, so from time to time we get a chance to, we say things, but I think I need to pick up the phone and call her. We need to do lunch
Yeah.
or something because
That's
she,
where I was
she
going with
definitely
that. I'll probably be so proud, you know?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
where I'm going with that. So let's talk about you being the founder and executive director for the Cody Rouge Community Action Alliance. Explain
Yes.
to the world what Cody Rouge is and what the Community Action Alliance is all about.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, the organization is inside the neighborhood that I grew up in. Back in 2006, we were a part of an initiative called the Skillman Foundation Good Neighborhoods Initiative. And the goal was for the foundation to invest in 6 neighborhoods across the city that had young people, the highest population of young people. However, the resources were lacking in those communities. But those neighborhoods were on the cusp of really, you know, coming back. And our neighborhood in particular had the second highest number of kids in the city of Detroit, over 13,000 kids. So it was my responsibility to work with the foundation to host these community meetings to find out specifically from the residents and the youth what we felt the key issues were at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so together, we came up with those different goals, objectives, and initiatives and things like that. And we realized that, a lot of times foundation, they have agendas as well. And it was all about kids, which was important to us. So we made sure that anything that we did in the community, that young people were at the forefront of that.
Wow.
Moving forward, as we continue to move and grow, we realized there are other populations that this particular foundation probably didn't support, which was like, the senior citizens. But the seniors were coming to me like, what about us? What about us? So my mom, her friends and all the folks in the neighborhood, like, what about us? So we decided to become a CDC to focus not only just youth development, but community engagement and neighborhood stabilization, making sure that we're looking at the entire family. So that's kind of how the organization got started. I am, the founder of the organization, and it's been 17 years now since we've been in existence. Yeah, time really flies.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that the work that I've been blessed to do, I didn't do it alone. It
Okay.
was not a me thing or I thing. I thank my community for allowing me to be the visionary of the organization and to lead us, but could not have done it without the residents, could not have done it without the youth, and those folks the businesses in the community, the churches, we all came together. And that's why our organization is an alliance. It's not just an independent nonprofit. We represent everyone in the neighborhood. So we're considered the voice of the neighborhood.
Wow. Let me ask you this, because I heard you say something very important. Many times, the older stakeholders in the community don't want to move aside and make room for the young people, but I heard you say that young people are involved at every phase of your organization's planning and development and vision, right? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So again, when I first started, I was much younger. I was like in my 30s. So I was considered young then, right? And I think I learned a lot, just being a young leader, but I had already started another nonprofit. So I understood how to create a nonprofit and have the nonprofit grow. But there were a lot of seniors, a lot of older women in the community who didn't realize how much experience I did have, where I also didn't realize how much experience I didn't have in certain areas. So there was like a little tension in the beginning, but what I discovered years later is that I didn't know what I didn't know. Right. So it took me some years to really kind of get through that and understand, that you got to humble yourself. You got to, there are folks who have probably been like in, the political arena, because I was never really a political person. But I learned a lot, especially from, the founding board president. We, love her. Unfortunately, she passed away last year, but when I say we were at the beginning, and it's a true story. We had plans to go across the world and talk about, the good, the bad, and the ugly of what we went through, but things move forward. Now, as far as like our youth, because I've always have been a youth advocate, my previous jobs were always organizations that, had youth programming, nonprofits. I worked for the city of Detroit. And when I worked for the city of Detroit, I created a program, and part of that program was just, youth driven. So youth, being able to have youth at the forefront, being a council. So that is where I got my passion to make sure that as we develop our community, that the youth are at the table, not just at the table, but they really have active voices. Like they're listening, people are listening to them, they're allowing them to lead. And that's pretty much anytime any type of developer or nonprofit or anyone who comes into our community and say they want to do work with us, they have to speak with the youth. They have to speak with the youth, and it's kind of like one of our non-negotiables. And with that being said, the city of Detroit identified our neighborhood as one of the strategic neighborhoods by the mayor of the city of Detroit. He had 11 neighborhoods, and Cody Rouge was one of those neighborhoods, where there were always other neighborhoods who were doing this plan. But when they came to our neighborhood, we said, listen, the only way we're going to do this is that the youth are leading the project. So this is the only youth-led plan that was in partnership with the city of Detroit that has happened in history. And you can, look it up. It's called the Warrendale and Cody Rouge strategic framework. And you'll see our youth have really done a phenomenal job in being at the table. In fact, one of the young ladies who was a youth, she is now our youth coordinator. Wow. And now she's leading other youth on how to be the next vanguard of the leader. So I'm very, like I said, I'm very passionate about young people. As they grow up and they graduate and they go on to college, we stay in touch with them. We make sure that when they come home for the summer months, that we actually hiring them for jobs. If we don't have a job for them, we find something for them. We want to make sure that they understand the importance of giving back, to your neighborhood. Sometimes you may come in and you volunteer, you may not be getting paid. But at the same time, we understand people need to have a cost of living. So we make sure that when we have job opportunities, that we're hiring our young people. So right now we have 2 young ladies who were previous a part of the organization as a youth, and now they're helping lead the work. And my goal is for them to eventually take on my job. That's my goal.
That's right. And that's the attitude you should have. How old is the youngest leaders that you have in your organization?
So initially we always focused on high school students, but we discovered that sometimes once they got to high school, they weren't ready yet. So we had to go younger. So we started doing some work with middle school students. So I think our youngest ones that are in position are 13.
Wow. Are you familiar with Traore Ibrahim, who is the president of Burkina Faso?
No, not familiar.
He's the president of Burkina Faso who just kicked the French out of their country, right? And
Mm.
they took
Mm.
independence. But he does the same thing. He has youth sitting in his cabinet.
Wow. Yep.
He has the youth making all of the suggestions, and then he has the youth to come back and give him a report of how they think he's done with their suggestions for the country. He has youth, and
Oh.
I'm talking 10 to like 18.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love that. You
yeah.
know, I love that. You need to make that connect. You need to connect me to him. And I'm gonna say why, because one of the projects, as I mentioned, we were in Chicago. We have a fellowship that we started with our youth in partnership with Dr. Truman Hudson. The youth are we came to run to Chicago. They had a chance to go to three or 40 universities there, and the goal is for them to come back to Detroit and then continue to work with other young leaders in Chicago. But then how do we impact the education systems in Detroit and Chicago?
Right.
And our ultimate goal is we want to be able to partner with, folks around the world. So that's, so hopefully there may be some synergy there as well.
I wish I could connect you with President Ibrahim. That man, the president of the country. I don't know him.
Listen, we
I wish
connect,
I did
we,
though, but I'm quite impressed with him.
yeah. If there's
Yep.
a will, there's a way.
He's really strong. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. So, Kenyetta, let's talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial endeavors. Because I know you can't make a whole lot of money in the nonprofit sector, right? And
Yeah.
you're very gifted. So let's talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial endeavors, because I know you have a few.
Yeah. So I am an entrepreneur by birth. Like I feel like I was born to be an entrepreneur. Like, and I think that's why I'm not saying it's easy to run a nonprofit, but it is easy to me. It's kind of like it's much easier than a for-profit. Well, I would say, um, very passionate about not just me starting businesses, but that's kind of how I started my initial nonprofit, teaching young people how to start their business. Like I felt like it was always important that that you're able to create a living for yourself. So with that being said, I've created so many businesses, but what I currently have now, I have a thriving smoothie truck. It's
Mhm.
actually a bus, but people call it a truck. It's a smoothie bus. And how I started that is that for many years I kind of struggled with being obese. And my goal was to figure out what do I need to do to make sure that I'm here and I'm safe and I'm well for my kids to be able to raise my own kids. So, I took a charge, I was going through some health issues and things like that. So I took charge of my weight, and I did that by smoothies. Like I initially started doing JJ Smith. She has a book called can't remember the name of the book right now, but it was a green smoothie cleanse. And I started that. And then from that, I got it, got addicted with losing weight. And then I started working out. And then now I'm just very passionate about fitness and health. So that's how I started that particular business. But then I also have another business called Fit to Win Detroit, in which during COVID, this was created during COVID, teaching and helping other women. Over 100 people I've helped lose weight. We were like, when I say thousands of pounds have been
Let us
lost.
celebrate you
Yeah.
for a minute. Just hold
Thank
on.
you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations. We're proud of you for
Thank
that.
you.
I remember
Thank
that
you.
whole journey, but continue.
Yeah. Yep. So during COVID, most people was gaining weight during COVID. We were
Mhm.
losing weight during COVID. Like it was nothing else to do but work out, you know what I'm saying? So we were working out and we were able to go, we were doing a lot of stuff outside too, but a lot of it started on Zoom, and then I was prepping their smoothies for them. So
Mhm.
that just kind of how everything just kind of evolved. And then I was blessed to be able to get the truck when during COVID, because there was a lot of funding that was supporting entrepreneurs that were losing money because of their businesses or that were trying to launch businesses during COVID. So I was blessed to get a grant through the state to purchase the bus. I was already saving. I was about to use my own money, and then that came. So I was able to keep my own money in my pocket. So,
Mhm.
like I said, by trade, I am an entrepreneur, very passionate about it. And I think it's important that, we teach our young people the importance of finding out what you're passionate about and turn it into a business opportunity.
Wow. 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 Isn't that alchemy?
Yep.
The whole
Yes. Yep.
story is alchemy,
Yes.
isn't it? You had
Absolutely.
a
Yes.
huge issue with your health. You wasn't satisfied with your weight, and you turned that all around. And not only did you turn it around for yourself, you helped to turn it around for other people while creating a couple of sources of income. Come on.
Yes.
You still a fitness trainer?
Well, I tried to do the fitness train a little bit. That was a little too much time consuming, especially when the world opened back up. So I was doing kickboxing classes because
Mm.
I wanted to do something that was fun because I'm very hyper, as you can see, very hyper. So just kind of like always moving. And I think that was something that was fun to do, but it just wasn't, I don't think it was my lane. So I got out of it. And what I did is I looked around some of the other folks that I were working out at the gym. And then I kind of like, we just created like this collaborative. And then now they actually are coming to our neighborhood and they're helping me help our community be
Mm.
healthy. Yep. So it's a lot of dopeness that's coming down. Like we got a lot that's coming, and I'm just blessed to be able to be here. I said, in order to lead a nonprofit, you got to be healthy. It's a lot of work. It's very time consuming, and there's a lot of things that go into making sure that it's successful and sustainable.
Yes.
And if you're not, the top leader's not healthy, then how can the community be healthy? So
Right, right. Man. I bet you Detroit is so proud of you. You know Detroit is arrogant, right?
no, we're not arrogant. No, we're not
Detroit's so
arrogant.
arrogant, man. I know
We just
Detroit. You know I know Detroit.
Detroit, listen,
Cool.
that's Chicago. That's Chicago. Y'all arrogant. Detroit, we're just very confident. And it's like the spirit of Detroit is kind of like, it's something that you've never seen in any other city. It's like you lived here for a little bit, so you know what it's like here. And I just think like, unfortunately we didn't get to make it to the Super Bowl, but we did beat the Chicago Bears, so I'm okay with that. But yeah,
I wasn't gonna
Commanders,
bring that up.
you already know.
Yeah, though, but the city of Detroit should be proud of you, and the world should be proud of you because
Thank
this
you.
is a magnificent story. Like, there are many people in Detroit that are doing great things. They're doing
Yes.
excellent work over there. Tell the world a little bit about some of your future steps. You always have a clip that's loaded. So, what are your next steps?
Next step. So there's a couple of things, but I'll kind of focus on the two major projects that we're working on currently. We, as I mentioned earlier, that the seniors kept saying, "What about us? What about us? What about us?"
Mm-hmm.
So we've created a roadmap to really help seniors age in place in our neighborhood. So we've been able to reach out to different funders. So the state of Michigan is now supporting us. So we have what's called Senior University, when the seniors are learning how to work computers, how to work their cell phones, because we know that, we got to help be a part of eliminating the digital divide. So we started that project, and that morphed into a whole nother area. Now, we're doing workshops for seniors. We're purchasing refrigerators, stoves. We've paid car notes. We've paid rent. Folks were losing their houses. So we've been able to find the resources to support our seniors so they can age in place. So now we're in the process of building our very first own apartment building for seniors in our neighborhood. So we're building a 53 unit apartment building right in the neighborhood for seniors. And we just also purchased 2 commercial properties, 3 or 4 blocks away from where we're building the department for our new headquarters. Because over the past 17 years, we've always used other facilities. Now it's time to have our own place. So now we have our own place. It's actually in part of the strategic framework area where the mayor is investing in. So we'll have this building will support not only workforce development, but housing stability, entrepreneurship. We currently have entrepreneurship programs, but they'll be able to utilize this space as a co-working space for the entrepreneurs. Those that are in the cooking industry, they'll be able to utilize the commercial kitchen. And then, of course, our young people, this is a place for them to do all of their arts programs and summer training programs and so forth. But we're just excited to be able to be, a voice in the neighborhood, and now a solid, stable nonprofit in the neighborhood. Wow. So that's what's next for us. That's for work. Personal goals is to continue to raise both of my daughters. My oldest is graduating from college next year, and then the youngest is going to high school. So I want to be able to, get the youngest one into college and kind of help them transition to womanhood. That's my personal goals as I continue to make sure that I'm well. Yeah.
Yeah, you had a full life. You got a
Yeah.
full life. I love that aging in place concept though. And as you were talking, I was just sitting here thinking, I bet you this is how she was talking to those funders because that
Yeah.
sounded so good.
I'm pretty good with the marketing, but it's from my heart, though. It's from my heart.
I know, I know that it is. Listen, we're so happy to have you as a guest, have you
Thank you.
spend time with us on Chicago's Intellectuals podcast because our ultimate goal is to tell our own stories and to expose our brilliance to the world. We don't need anybody
Yes,
else framing our narrative, right?
absolutely.
That's our ultimate goal. So you're the perfect guest to be on Chicago's Intellectuals podcast. So we thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you. Thanks for
So
having me.
let me ask you this, Kenyetta. How important is mentorship?
Oh, yes. Well, mentorship, if we're not mentoring the next vanguards of leadership in this, not only this city, but in this country, we're not doing a great job. So I've always been a mentor for young people. That's always been my passion. But then also other folks that are looking to start a nonprofit or start a business, I've also been able to mentor them. Some folks will call me like, you know what, you're so busy. That's the first thing people say when they call me. But it bothers me to hear that because I'm not too busy for people. Like I'm busy, but I want to take time. So when people say that, it's not that I'm just so busy. There's a lot going on, but my goal is to make sure that I pause and I help, the next leaders. Like I said, I'm not trying to be here forever. I think this is where I plan to retire.
Mm.
But at the same time, I want to continue to build a legacy for my kids as well on a personal level. I want to make sure that those who are interested in going into the nonprofit field or they're interested in, running some of the other neighborhood block clubs or associations, because that's something else I'm very passionate about, making sure that we're mentoring these young folks so that as the seniors are aging, they need to be able to have somebody that's going to take the baton and run. Unfortunately, there's a lot of folks who they get in these positions and instead of them passing the baton, they holding on to it. I'm like, no, let the kids snatch it out your hand. Let them go. Get out of their way. You can just you give them the necessary tools to be successful and then get out of the way.
Yep.
I can say that I had some folks who that's how they mentored me, but then I have some who I learned from that held on. You know what I'm saying? So, there's going to be a balance, between trying to mentor folks, but that I think is very important, and that's something that I'm very passionate about.
I'm glad you said you had some folks that mentored you because that was my next question. Do you presently have
Yes.
a mentor or mentors?
I have several. I have one that helps me focus on my personal finance. I have a mentor that's leading and helping me build this organization. I have a spiritual mentor. So I have several mentors for different things. I'll name three of them. One is Gail Perry Mason. She's like a financial guru in the city of Detroit who's done a phenomenal job. And I met her actually taking kids to learn from her. And I got some out of the message, and we've been very close ever since then. Dr. Truman Hudson, who was a very strong leader who's from Detroit, but now he lives in Chicago and he's doing great work there. He's been a person who's really helped me build from being a small nonprofit to a thriving nonprofit. And when I say he's like the person that's kind of helped our organization with our strategic plans and all of that. Anytime we have questions, things we don't understand, he's a person I always pick up the phone and call for that. And then as far as like the spiritual mentor, I'll say that's my mom. Like when things get tight, I pick up the phone, call my list, and I need you to pray. Like she told me, like, well, you got to pray yourself too. So I have a prayer life as well. But I feel like my mom is the person who's always like that person when I need to make a business decision. And I'm like, Mom, I think I'm not sure. Should I move this way or that way? First thing she's gonna tell me to do, stop and pray. And God can give you the answer. So I think those are like the top three mentors that I feel that I have. Again, I have others, but those are the top three that have really been by my side throughout, my life or throughout my career as a nonprofit leader.
I ask all of our guests that come onto this platform that very question, right? And I do that for a reason, because sometimes people as adults, they get so busy adulting that they don't think that they need any help, right?
Oh no,
And
that's
there's
insane.
no one amongst us who we look at as being successful that didn't have a long list of people to help them along the way.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I
Yes.
have 3 mentors as well right now.
Yep.
And yes, it's important for us to reach back and mentor people coming up behind us, but it's also important for us to stay healthy in all aspects of our lives. So we need to find people that's already done it, right? That's
Right.
already
Yeah.
done it and that's willing to develop a partnership with us so that they can instruct us on how we can move forward to get to where they are.
Absolutely. Yep.
So
Yep.
that's very important. But some people, I've noticed, you know, they tend to shy away from having a mentor or mentors in their lives, and you know that could lend itself to the fact that they might not want to be held accountable. But you know, it's going to be very difficult to be successful without it. That's why I asked that question.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
So, what does Kenyetta peoples read? You're so busy. Do you have time to read? What
I
type?
do. I do. But for the most part, the 2 books I'm reading right now is one is called The Four Dimension. I'm a part of a book club. One of my good friends, Dorothea, she had me join. And this basically is a biblical, it's a biblical book. And then of course I read my Bible every day. I'm reading it every day now. I wasn't reading it every day, but those 2 books are important to me. And then the last book is a book called Bear, which a good friend of mine, she wrote that book, and I did the forward on her book. And so those are the 3 that I'm currently, yep.
Okay.
Bear, Bare. So look it up if you're interested in that book as well.
Okay. Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. Yep.
Okay.
And the writer is Nicole Nelson. Nicole with 2 C's.
Okay. Okay. Very good. My next question: what type of music does Kenyetta?
Are you gonna judge me? No.
I'm not gonna judge you. I listen to all type of stuff. So
I love music. I mean, like the favorite is neo soul. I love neo soul. I'm like a Jill Scott. Like I vibe with her, I rock with her. Erykah Badu. I mean, those 2 together is just like when I'm just trying to be chill mode. I'm just like in my Zen spirit. You know, that's what I listen to. When I'm working out, I gotta listen to my rap music.
who
I
in
love, you know.
particular? Who in
Say
particular?
it again.
Who in particular?
Oh man. Oh man. I got a couple of artists I listen to. So of
Detroit
course,
artists?
if I'm
Are these
say it again.
Detroit artists, or
Yeah, I like Cash Doll. She's one of the artists I
ah,
like. Yeah. She can't
okay.
Cash Doll because she keeps it real. You know, it's like she's younger than me. She's like between me and my daughter age, and I think I kind of got caught up with Cash Doll because of my daughter. It's like music that she listens to, so it's kind of like I love Cash Doll. Of course, I listen to my daughter. My daughter's an artist, Kamila, also known as Mila K. So I listen to her when I'm working out, and then I gotta put a little pocket in there when I'm lifting. You know, you got to kind of like, you know, and then I like Megan. Yeah. So
Uh, Kenyetta, I want you to take this time and just, if you would, give a message to the youth.
yes. So I'm very, like I mentioned before, I'm very passionate about young people. I think it's important as our young people decide to, you know, once they're in high school or let's say elementary, middle school, think about what you're passionate about. What are you passionate about? And make sure that whatever you're passionate about, you allow your passion to lead you into the next direction. Don't allow someone else tell you what you should do when you grow up, what you should be. Because what happens is when you are not passionate about it and you're just doing it because of the money, then you're never going to be happy. Well, I'm not going to say never. It's difficult to be happy if it's just about the money and you're not passionate about it. Like young people should be able to go to work and enjoy what they do, love what they do. So it's not a job. So think about this. Like if it's something that you're willing to do for free and you enjoy doing it and you can make money doing it, then I would say that's what I would, think about. Also, it's important that young people understand the importance of giving back. Giving back to your community. Like it is so important that we don't forget about where we came from. You know, I remember when I was in high school, playing sports and doing all these different leadership things. I didn't realize that was going to be something that's going to have an impact in my life later on. So when I went off to college and I came back and I looked at the neighborhood, I'm like, what happened? I was only gone for 4 years.
Yeah.
What happened? So I think it's important that our young people, if you want to see your city thrive, that you should always get involved now. Don't wait until you're grown and, get involved. And of course, I'm all about you decide on what college if you decide you want to go to HBCU, you decide you want to go to PWI, whatever the case may be, come back and give to your neighborhood. I'm always, teaching and telling folks, like, you don't necessarily have to move back to Detroit, but that's something that I ask people to come back to your city, because we need people who are from the city, who have gone through different things in the city, made it out, and then come back. You know what I'm saying? If it's this, you volunteering at a local school, reading a book to some kids. If you have a job where you're working at this corporation now, how do you, talk to your boss and have them understand the importance of social responsibility, and then have them come back to give to your neighborhood. There's organizations, there's companies here that I feel like they're doing a tremendous job as it relates to social responsibility. General Motors, Quicken Loans, DTE Energy. These folks have come back they've hired from our neighborhood. They've hired a lot of folks that went to high school with me. And now these folks are now coming back. They do cleanups and things like that. And sometimes they even, donate financial finances to it. So I would encourage our young people to, get involved, make a career decision that, you're passionate about. Don't let nobody tell you what you can or can't do. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, just be you, be you. And it'll take you a long way.
Such a powerful message. That's such a powerful message, because I agree. Can you do anything to help out my uncle's old neighborhood by Mendota and Schoolcraft over there, Schoolcraft, Wyoming area?
Yeah, that's not far. Yeah, so that's not far. So Mendota and Schoolcraft is outside our boundaries, but I'm connected to all of the other CDCs across the city. So what I need to do is find out exactly which nonprofit that's similar to ours that's focusing on that area. And then I want to say they are close to what church is that?
Mumford and McKenzie, right?
Yeah. So that may be Sinai Grace Guild, may be the nonprofit, Department of Neighborhood Leader. They have 7 in every neighborhood. And if that's District 7, then that may be our district. I can connect them directly, but it may be on the verge of 5 to a District 5. And they can help with other city resources. It's not like the olden days where you got to go down to City Hall and, get somebody from the city to help you out. We actually have people in the neighborhoods now. So I would definitely encourage that as well.
He's no longer over there, but I just think about the neighborhood, because I used to go every summer and stay with him. And when I was living there, I drove through there, and the neighborhood was just in shambles. And it used to be a middle-class neighborhood. So I was just like, they need help over there. But anyway, listen, Kenyetta, we're proud of you.
Thank you.
I would encourage you to continue doing what you're doing. I like the idea of handing the mantle off to the youth. There are many, many great things that are going to happen over in Detroit. I saw it before I left. The city is being rebuilt, the people are revitalized, and it's a great place to be right now. Detroit is on the comeback in a great way, right?
We are back. Yes.
Detroit versus everybody.
That's right. You gotta know
it. So, listen, this is our final segment of the podcast, and I always like to afford our guests to tell a story of their choice. And the name of this segment is called Bring Some Weed. I got a story to tell.
Oh my God.
So now is your time to tell a story of your choice, no matter what the story is.
So the story that I would like to share is, I don't know why this came to me, but co-parenting. That's the story I want to talk about.
Okay.
I think the story, a lot of times, we, even especially in the Black community, individuals feel that just because you are not with a person, it's going to be difficult for you to raise a child. I've been blessed to see and made it through co-parenting my daughters. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of times when a father is a good father, a lot of women are afraid for some reason to tell that father that he's a good father or he's a great father. And I would say, I think we need to change that narrative. I think we need to, when they're doing great, because at the end of the day, men are every day, they're going through so many different things. It's okay that we struggle, we go through things, but if they're doing the best they can for their child and they're doing great, tell them, tell them that they're doing a great job, And that can take it a long way. So unfortunately, I kind of experienced going through a lot of difficult times raising my daughters. However, at the end of the day, I felt like I've been able to figure it out as I got older. That it's not all about just the other person. You have to be an effective communicator too. You have to be able to look at, you know, what you're doing that's not right to raise your child, and then being able to listen to the other person so that you both can kind of instill those great values into this child so that that child is a better person to grow up. So I'm hoping that, as people continue to, if it's not working out and you are co-parenting a child, you know, put your own agenda to the side and focus on the kid. That's the best advice I can tell people. It's all about that kid. And the conversation is not about the kid. There's no need for us to be on the phone talking. And I think that's how you're really able to have effective parents raising a child that are in two different homes. And I think the kids need that. They need to see that their parents can get along, trust and believe. It ain't always been easy, and there's been times that I have to say, you know what? I got to be the bigger person. Let me pick up the phone and say, you know what? I know you may be going through what you're going through right now, and I'm gonna hold it down. I'm gonna hold the kid down right now, and you'd be surprised on, how that can change the life of the child once they get older.
Wow. Wow. That's so powerful. And I
Yeah.
agree, by the way.
Yeah,
That
do
is
you? Okay.
really powerful.
Yeah.
Yes. It's been great today, Kenyetta. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad that you took the time out of your busy schedule to come hang out with us. You have some very, very impactful things to say. And I just want you to go ahead and share with the world any information that you might have and getting in contact with you, your juice trucks, your organization, if they're seeking tutelage, go ahead and share your social media handles.
Okay. So I'll start with the business page first. You can find us at www.codyrouge.org. That's CODYROUGE. And that's on all social platforms as well. And then as far as my personal business, the Detroit Smoothie Spot, again, on all social media platforms. And my contact information is on all those pages as well. If you need to email me or call me, both of the numbers are on both of those sites. And I just thank you for allowing me this opportunity. It's always a pleasure, to talk to you, and then to share with the world about the great work that is happening in the city of Detroit. Because unfortunately, sometimes folks only hear about the negative things, but Detroiters are making a difference.
I agree.
Yeah.
For Kenyetta Peoples, I am the Kid Rod Allen. This has been another episode of Chicago's Intellectuals Podcast. Until next time, peace, 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 Kenyetta.
Peace. Yeah. Take care.